Hello, Joni Rotten. I was just listening. I put the link to the video in the description because I'm pretty sure it's an AI. Well, it is an AI. And I don't want to get struck, but I wanted to point out something about a particular story that's in there. So I put a little timestamp in. It's hail attacks. Now, you may have already heard of this story, but you know, here in the Rotten Kingdom, I like to study human behavior. And so sometimes for fun, I listen to creepypastas and things like that. This comes from an iceberg, but I wanted to note this particular story, the hail attack. And it's about a man who was live streaming his rampage of murder during on Twitch. And that's horrible. But that's not what I want to discuss. What I want to discuss is what was said about him at the end of that. Let's see, it goes off to say he did have some problems, okay, but and rightfully so. He should not be, should not have been, or isn't part of the group anymore, but that's not going to help your average person. And so what it says in here is that looking into his manifesto, and that he wrote in English, let's see, his psyche were provided by psychological assessment conducted after the attack, despite being diagnosed with complex personality disorder and exhibiting autistic traits. Experts determined that he was fully aware of his actions and their moral implications. His intelligence was assessed to be average with an IQ of 105, but he was also described to be socially isolated individual with a fragile self-esteem. Throughout his trial, he opposed any suggestion of mental illness, viewing them as an attempt to undermine his ideological stance. And that's what they say about this man. Now, the thing I find the most interesting there is they mentioned that he has already got some kind of mental disorder. He's got an ideology, and they want to put him on medication. He's average IQ. He has already been diagnosed with complex personality disorder, which means that he doesn't like authority very much. That's ADD territory there. And that he also had autistic traits. And he was socially isolated individual with a very fragile self-esteem. Now that describes just about everybody that is on the planet right now. And while I'm here, want to point out that when you're watching these types of videos, there seems to be a pattern that happens with the commercials, and the commercials are for BetterHelp. And these combined ingredients here spell, I smell a rat, I smell a future problem. I'm all for, I don't like crazy people any more than anyone else does. I certainly don't want ones that are going around and murdering people. But these are rare examples, and these extreme examples are how laws get formed. That's how control gets made. That's how the average person gets wrapped up into the mess. And say you don't want to take your medicine, or you decide, I'm not going to claim the autistic diagnosis or the mental illness diagnosis, and I refuse to take your medicines. You could be labeled this man's. That's what they could do. They could just decide that, and you're screwed. So I see a future where if I don't agree to their terms and services, that quite possibly I could be held against my will. I can be harassed, problems. Who the heck knows? Now, I'm not even saying that I think this is going to happen in my lifetime. Probably not, because it seems like we have a lot of positivity towards self and doctor diagnosed mental illnesses, or whatever the new term is. I think they're trying to remove the term mental, quote unquote, from the diagnosis. But all of these seemingly disabilities that prey on the mind, if you will, and lose the stigmata. However, that is what always happens before the shit hits the fan. I'll give you an example. Walmart had a problem with people complaining there wasn't enough American made items. Does anybody remember that? And for a good, I'd say close to maybe a 5 year, it seemed like they really went in. I could be wrong. I didn't look it up, but for a good bit, there were lots of commercials telling me that Walmart was carrying American-made items. They even could sell me a T-shirt with the American flag on it, with a label that says "Made in America," and they wanted everyone to know that it was made in America. Come back to Walmart. Don't worry, we're taking care of it. Now, fast forward a couple decades, and I would be strapped to find anything in the Walmart made in America. You see what I'm saying? And that's what I feel like happens when they have these movements of trying to get everyone on board. We lose the stigmata. Now everyone is diagnosed. Everyone has a genetic something. Everyone has a depression or this, that, or the other. And in 20 years' time, it's turned into something else. But that is just some rotten thoughts. Tell me what you think. Please tell me I'm wrong. Say that is incorrect and that could never happen, because I would love to hear that. Maybe people could set my mind at ease and tell me why they would never do such things, and why I am just being overly paranoid.